designing your pixel quilt. So there are a few tips I want to give you when you are going ahead and designing a pixel quilt. The first is do not get stuck on one photo. You need at least 4, 5, 6 images that you're going to drop into the system and see how they look. If you are set on one image, chances are it might not work and you're going to be disappointed. I know this is especially hard when you're using a low resolution image or you have scanned in an old photo that has some scratches and things on it. Basically, the output that this system will give you is very reflective of what you put in. It will not make the image better. It will highlight areas if there is scratching or anything like that on the image, it will highlight them and it won't look good. My advice is that if your image is not good quality or it has shadows or it has bright areas, anything in the face, especially if you're doing a face that either is very shadowy or very bright, will not look good in a pixel quilt. If you are wanting to try the image, I would recommend that you go ahead and try it and then see the areas that are not working, and then go ahead and use your phone or any kind of Photoshop or any kind of online free photo editing software and edit the photo in the software. Like I said, what you put into this is what you will get out of it. So if you are putting a low quality image in, you will only get a low quality out. Once your picture is in there and it's of your person and you love it, it can be very easy to actually forget the aesthetics and that this is a quilt and just get taken along with the fact that you're going to make a quilt out of this person, and the reality is that it's not a very good image or it's not a very high quality image. The first thing I'd recommend if you're putting in an image, try all the filters. Chances are if you're putting in an image of a face, it will pick up on any red tones in the face, grey tones, green tones, blue tones, and the way you can get rid of those tones is that you can have a try on the warm filter. That will immediately take those tones out of the face and make it look more aesthetically pleasing. Likewise, if the image that you're putting in is bringing up some quite bright images or muddy, dark, green, grey, brown colours, try the black and white filter. Sometimes that can help to get a much better aesthetic for your quilt. Try to be objective though, because if you are gonna spend hours and hours making this thing, then being objective with the image to begin with and producing a quilt that looks amazing, you're going to be much happier on the other side. So try to avoid getting taken up with putting an image in that maybe isn't the best one, and you kind of know it's not the best, but that's my baby, so I want to make the quilt. There are ways to make the image better. And I recommend you do take a step back and look at the image with fresh eyes and see if you're as taken with it as you are to begin with. None of my images are working. I get this. I did a quilt of my best friend who's the most photogenic person on the planet, and I went through 9 photos, and 8 of them before I thought every single one of them would work, and they just didn't. And sometimes I don't even know why they don't work, but they don't, and you can tell. So if an image is not working, try removing the background. You can do that in your iPhone and then try it again. Quite often, the colors that would have been used in that background and the detail will then appear in the face and it will look significantly better. So that's definitely one tip I'll give you. Another tip I'll give you is take a break. So like me, after I'd tried 8 different images of my best friend, it felt like none of them were working. So that was the time that I stepped away. And then there's always one that seems to work a little bit more than others, but maybe you're not completely happy with that image. Go ahead and try that when you come back to it. Like, if that's the best of a bad bunch, try it and look at it with new eyes. And usually what you'll find is you've just been looking at this system for too long and you just needed a little bit of a break away from it. Will I design the quilt for you? At the moment, I am snowed under and I do not have the bandwidth to be able to do this for people yet. Plus, I'm really wanting to help people to use the system so they can do it themselves. So I will open up a couple of slots, if that, a month, where I can help you to design your quilt. But bear in mind that if the only reason you're coming to me is that you've tried a photo and it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for me. There's nothing magic I can really do that will turn a bad photo into a good photo. So try different photos. Are pixel quilts for beginners, intermediates, or advanced seamstresses? I would say that I was pretty intermediate when I tried my first pixel quilt, and for me it was very self-explanatory, very easy. I think personally these are easier than most quilts because you're never going to have a bias seam, you're never going to have a tiny triangle you have to cut. So I personally think they're easier. Some people who struggle with the organization of quilts, they have said these are harder for them because of everything that you need to keep organized while you're sewing it. So I get that completely. One way of starting out if you're wanting to make a pixel quilt is to go ahead and use the medium resolution filter instead of the high resolution. That will drop the number of pixels down and it's a great starting place. Santa, for example, was created as a medium resolution quilt just to make him easier and faster to sew together. When you're designing your quilt and you're happy, there's one part that you really need to keep an eye on, and that is the number of pieces. On the site, it will tell you the number of pieces you're going to have to cut in order to make this quilt. And if this is your first, I highly recommend you keep it well under 2,500 pieces. I have had people do their first pixel quilt at nearly 3,500, 4,000 pieces and practically lost the will to live. So keep it under. If you're an experienced seamstress, then have at it. I know that if I tackle a 5,000 piece quilt, chances are I am going to be completely sick of it by the time I finish with it, but I know I can do it and I know I can plow through it. So, but if you've never done a pixel quilt before, honestly, I would stay below 1,500 pieces. Just do not run headlong into a project that's going to be so overwhelming and that ultimately you won't finish. The other really important part of the website that you need to go and have a play when you've uploaded your picture is the number of colors. The default it will be set to when you upload your image is 14 shades. So it will pick out 14 of the biggest areas of color of your quilt and match them to Kona cotton shades. I would say go and have a play. It can go up to 19. Usually if you go up to 19, not only will that produce a huge pixel count that you're going to have to cut, but it will also muddy an image. I've never used a face image that's had that many colors because it just muddies it up. So be careful. More colors doesn't actually necessarily mean a better quilt. For me, the sweet spot is usually between 9 colors and 14. And that is usually what gives me, in my opinion, the best clarity on the face without muddying it up and for the quilt just to not look aesthetically pleasing. So play with that function. Okay, that's it. So if you have any more questions, then feel free to message me or email me, d@pixelquilts.com, and I will be happy to answer them. And I'm excited for you to make your own pixel quilt, and make sure you send me the final version so I can have a look at it and share with my people as well. So good luck. The other feature on the Pixel Quilt website that I wanted to make you guys aware of is the fact that if you see a few pixels in the picture that you're not happy with, you can go ahead and select the color on the left of the screen and then use the pointer, and whatever color you've selected on the picture, it will change to that pixel color, so you can erase small areas. So that was one other feature that you guys should know about.